Welcome back to Treasury Notes. I'm your host, Gina Joins. In the last 10 years, the financial opportunities for people with disabilities have changed. Thanks to new federal and state laws, many people with disabilities can now save and invest without losing eligibility for public benefits like SSI or Medicaid. For West Virginians, WVABLE provides a way to control their finances and improve their lives. Joining me now to talk more about this life-changing plan is WVABLE Director Roxanne Clay. Roxanne, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And WVABLE, it is an investment program offered by the West Virginia State Treasurer's Office. So tell us a little bit about the origin of this program, how it started and what it's about.
Sure. So back in 2014, there was federal legislation called the ABLE Act, that stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience, that passed by Congress. And what it did was it created tax-free savings and investment accounts that were designed specifically for individuals with disabilities, allowing them to finally save and invest without risking their eligibility for public benefit programs such as SSI, Supplemental Security Income, Medicaid, SNAP, and HUD. And so what that legislation also did was it allowed states to develop their own programs. And so WVABLE is made possible by the federal ABLE Act.
So there are other states that have their own ABLE programs,
That's
but
right.
WVABLE is specific to West Virginia, right?
That's right. There's 47 states currently that have an ABLE plan, and our program launched in February of 2018, so we're still fairly young. We are a sister program to the Smart 529 Education Savings Program, also in the tax code, a new section 529A.
And what kind of a response have you seen since this program launched about 6 years ago?
So we are progressively growing. When we're looking at West Virginia, ABLE, you're looking at about 47,000 ABLE eligible individuals, okay? Mm-hmm. We got currently about 816 account holders, okay? So you're looking at roughly 2% of ABLE eligible individuals in West Virginia have an account, and that's very consistent with the national landscape too. However, right now we're looking at 7.25 million assets under management that have been saved by these over 800 WVABLE account owners. And when you put that into perspective, that means the average account balance is right at $8,900, which is over 4 times the amount that they were allowed to save before the ABLE Act was passed. And I'll mention this real quick because a lot of people don't realize that for folks that do receive those public benefits, they are not allowed to have more than $2,000 in assets. Otherwise, they lose that eligibility.
And that's a big reason why ABLE came about nationally, right? Because there were a lot of people who were being urged to spend down their money just so they could continue with their public benefits, which was not a sustainable, it's not a sustainable lifestyle.
No, and that's exactly the core about why the ABLE Act was passed, okay? I'll mention a milestone for WVABLE. For fiscal year 24, we saw an increase of 1.94 million assets under management, okay? And what that equates to is 164,000 on average per month, 162,000 per month that was saved by our West Virginia ABLE account owners and not spent down and not wasted in order to stay below that $2,000 asset limit.
And earlier we were talking to Andrea about the Jumpstart Savings Program. One of the parallels from that program to the ABLE program is that there's no real age limit on this program, right? It can work with the individual as they grow. Some parents open up WVABLE accounts for their children to start saving at a young age, and others can open it at a later age, but there are some eligibility requirements with that age limit, right?
That's right. And so I'm glad you brought up, there is a misconception, and I'll start as far as the eligibility. You do have to be a West Virginia resident, mm-hmm. and the onset of your disability currently would have had to have occurred prior to the age of 26. When we say the onset, it doesn't mean the diagnosis. It could be the onset of the symptoms. Okay. And then you do have to be entitled or eligible to receive SSI or SSDI due to the disability or blindness. Okay, but you can enroll at any age. The parents can enroll when that child is young. We actually encourage parents to plan ahead and start saving when that child is young and allow those funds to build. You can enroll as an 80-year-old, as long as the onset of the disability occurred before the age of 26, then they can enroll in ABLE. But you don't have to be receiving those public benefits, though.
Right. Okay, fantastic. And there's a lot going on with that age because that's changing eventually, right?
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is really exciting too. So Treasurer Riley Moore worked with our congressional delegation here in West Virginia to encourage that they support, it was federal legislation called the ABLE Age Adjustment Act. Okay, it was proposed every year since the 2014 ABLE Act passed. It finally passed in 2020, and it will go into effect January 1 of 2026. And what that does is it increases the age limit for the age of onset of disability from before age 26 to before age 46. So that's huge for individuals with disabilities whose disability occurred at a later age, and we're talking 6 million individuals nationwide. That includes 1 million of our brave veterans.
That's fantastic. So eventually this program is going to expand and more people will be eligible, which is certainly some good news. Talking just a little bit about West Virginia's ABLE program, there's a great partnership with Ohio's Stable program, and that's how this program functions now as part of a partnership where other states are involved as well, and all of those states are pooling together to use resources, correct?
That's right. So Ohio was actually the first state in the nation to establish their ABLE program back in 2016, and they named it Stable Account Program. And once, they put a lot of money and resources into developing their plan and their platform. Once it was established, they opened it up and allowed other states to partner with them. So that's what West Virginia did, and we saved a lot of money by doing that. Currently, there are 12 states total that make up the Stable Account Plan, so they are one of the most widely used ABLE programs nationwide. And so we feel really fortunate to be part of Stable. They continue to grow their numbers, and there's features within the Stable Account platform that they're always increasing to make things more efficient as it relates to enrollment, how the accounts work and using the accounts. And a perfect example of that is that by September, they are planning for a mobile app for Stable Account users to be able to utilize their and make transactions in their account more easily too. So that's exciting.
That is exciting. A lot going on with this. And one of the misconceptions I wanted to point out is that people must be receiving public assistance to qualify for an account, but that's not necessarily true.
No.
So there is an eligibility quiz on the website, right?
That's right. So there's an eligibility quiz on the website. It takes folks through a series of yes or no questions. It'll let folks know, if they're eligible to enroll. But I always like to say to go to the website where you see the eligibility tab and read through the criteria there that goes into more detail, because sometimes they run into roadblocks and they think they're not eligible. But know this, you do not have to be receiving public benefits to be eligible. And I'll give you a really good example of that. We have families that have a child with a disability, and they make too much money, so they exceed the income limit for receiving SSI benefits for their child. But they can go ahead and establish this account while that child is young and be saving and allowing those funds to build. Now, when that child turns 18, a lot of times they're going to apply for SSI benefits, and Social Security is going to look at that 18-year-old's assets and income. They can have $100,000 in their ABLE account, and Social Security is going to disregard that amount.
That's okay.
It's huge.
Yeah, that is huge. Okay, so what you put money in an account. So now let's talk about taking money out of an account. What can you use this money for? Because there are some stipulations, but it's pretty broad.
It is, and I'm glad you brought it up because that's another misconception. People are fearful. Well, what can I use my money for? Is it just medical expenses? So it's so much broader than that. The legislation defines the funds in an ABLE account can be used for what's called qualified disability expenses. There's not a list So it's not restrictive, okay? We have categories. So some examples of categories include housing, basic living expenses, transportation, health and wellness, legal. So think of it in terms of, you know, the expense needs to support the beneficiary, okay? And it must help to maintain or improve their health, their independence, and their quality of life. So a good example is going to the movies, you know, because it lends towards building the quality of life for that individual with a disability, even going on a vacation. You know, as long as that expense supports the beneficiary, then it's going to be a qualified disability expense.
And it's easy to access the funds. Let's
Yes.
talk a little bit about that, because how can you take out the funds and withdraw the funds?
So funds are available as soon as that account is in active status. The funds are available to use at any time. There's several ways to get money out. One of the great features with Stable account is they have what's called a Stable Visa debit card. There's no cost to that card, okay? But everyone with a Stable account is eligible for this card. They do have to request it. And the beauty of the card is there's some protections that are put in place. So you do have to load it, okay? So you're gonna get the card, you're gonna see that it's already linked within the Stable account platform, and you're gonna load the card with those funds. And then wherever Visa is accepted is where you can use the card. We have parents who have adolescents, or, you know, we have adult individuals with disabilities, you know, that are using the cards. Whoever's managing the account can set up restrictions to where the card can only be used for food-related items. You can't use the card at an ATM, so there's some protection built in there. You can also request to receive a text alert every time the card is swiped. So it's just an excellent way for those folks that are wanting to use these accounts for more transactional purchases.
Let's talk about how do you get an ABLE account? Walk me through the process.
So go to WVABLE.com. You'll see the button for enroll, open an account. You click on that, and it takes you to the Stable account platform, the gateway page, where you're just going to answer a series of questions, okay? If it's the individual with a disability who has the capacity and is able and wants to enroll in the account, they're going to provide information about themselves: name, date of birth, social security number, address. If it's a parent that's enrolling on behalf of a child, then they're also going to enter in that same information for them as the authorized legal representative. It's a simple online enrollment process. That's another beauty of Stable, is they have streamlined that process for folks to easily enroll. You know, it could take 10, 15 minutes to complete that.
And if they have questions, they can always call you, right?
Definitely. I am a phone call away or an email away. We encourage folks to, anytime you have questions about the program or you want to learn more, definitely reach out. Go to our website. I do monthly webinars that's open to the public. I really welcome people to attend those, because you don't know what you don't know. And there's so many features, there's benefits, there's tax benefits, there's some provisions in place that we want to make sure everybody knows all the ins and outs, so they can really maximize on the use and the benefits of the accounts.
And they can go to WVABLE.com, or they can also go to WVTreasury.com/WVABLE to learn more, see some videos, have your contact information, see when your webinars are.
Yep.
We want to encourage people to reach out, ask questions, and learn more about the program, because the more they know, the easier they will find it is to use.
Exactly.
All
Yep.
right. Roxanne, thank you so much for joining us today. We could talk a lot more, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's all the time we have.